car's just warming up. I'm going to get in. Now, these conditions, I haven't driven in before. I'm used to driving in the hard packed snow. That's not a problem. This is ice under here. And now we have a thin layer of snow on top. And as I say, they don't salt. They grit, but there's no salt in it. And I think the grit is just to give you a bit of grip. We've got studded tyres, so we should be okay. Right, I will catch up with you very soon. I've come further north into Norway. Nice. Kind of. Ooh, slippery, even with me ice cleats on. First of all, I wanted to visit Smalfjord. It was a location that Tony from Aurora Service Tours took us to the first time I came here. And when I eventually found the spot, the lake is still, or the fjord is still completely frozen over. It's not actually, excuse me, I'm a bit tomato in my teeth. Smalfjord wasn't the place he took us to. It was another little lake. And it was completely frozen over and snow on top of it. So I carried on to a place called Hoyholmen. And we have a car coming. It's coming that way. I didn't know what was there. I thought, we'll go have a look. Whew. That road, which I didn't record because it was lumpy and bumpy, that tested my nerves somewhat, and I don't know why, because the locals are steaming along at 70, 80 clicks and I'm driving like Aunt Daisy at 40 clicks. But I would rather arrive somewhere later than intended in one piece than try and get there on time and end up in a ditch. So, Torhof didn't really float my boat when I got here. I don't know what I was expecting, but anyway. So I carried on along this road, which is allegedly a main road. Yeah. And I followed it along, and I could see these glorious reflections. I thought, oh, somewhere to stop. I finally found a lay-by. The sun is doing its hardest to come through up there, which is about perfect. If it ever breaks through that cloud bank, it should shed some lovely light on here. And we've got reflections over there, reflections over there. The wind is just picking up a little bit, but nothing bad. In the distance, we have some snow-covered mountain tops, and then we have a bank of white cloud, which is now covered by a bank of grey cloud. And trying to be extremely careful where I go. We've got trees on either side, but coming up here, they don't encroach into the image. There's a foreshore, because this is tidal. It's actually quite a straight line, and it's yucky because there's lots of seaweed and boulders, and it doesn't look nice. But if I can remove that from the image, so shoot slightly higher, I think we'll be all right. Because we've got, the left-hand side is quite tall, and it comes down in layers. And just as the fjord goes round the corner, it then builds up in layers to the right-hand side. So I thought, well, I could either keep driving forever, or I could stop and take a photo. I've done the obligatory standard reflection shots using the 17-55 with a polarizer and a 6-stop on, because there is just a little bit of a breeze coming up. So now, I thought I'd have a go with the 70-200. I don't normally use the 70-200 in this sort of scene. I'm still playing with the polarizer. The sun's coming in almost at the right angle, but it's not having any effect whatsoever. Oh, it is very slightly darkening this bit, the front end of the image, or the lower half of the image, but that's going to allow the floor to show through. So the rocks, and there's some bright coloured rocks down there, the water is amazingly clear. And I don't want that. So I'm trying to turn it off whilst making sure that it doesn't do that horrible thing to the sky. On the right hand side of the hill, there is a little orangey red cabin. And I thought, oh, that's quite nice. So I've kind of zoomed all the way in, trying to use that as some sort of focal point. And even while we're talking, the wind's picking up slightly and then dropping down, and the reflections are coming into view and the reflections are going out. So I've got the red hut, orangey red hut, and then almost directly above that is the edge of a mountain, or the side of the mountain. And I quite like that one. I say I've not tended to use the 70-200 doing this kind of image. To try these things. Now I'm trying to guesstimate. I don't want it central. I know with reflections, ideally, you want the same amount of space, top of the image to the bottom of the image, with the subject that you're reflecting in the middle. That's how it's normally done. But I'm not convinced I want that. Let's have a go at that. With the 70-200, I've turned the VR off. I focused before I put the filters on. I'm at f18. I'm at 8 seconds, which I can just sneak up to 10 seconds without blowing anything. ISO 100. I'm at f18 because I don't want to put the 10 stop on, and it is very bright. Obviously, we've got the sun I keep looking at, and then I get blinded, which is peeking through nice, soft, diffused light. We've got the bright white on the top of the mountains. The whole of the scene is scattered with snow, so that's nice and bright. And then you've got a major contrast with the dark of the trees and the rocks. So it's quite a big... I say it's a while since I've done reflections, and I think I'm now past the point of wanting to do reflections. Nothing wrong with them. Maybe I overdosed when I first started, because it was reflections that got me hooked on landscape photography. So I'm just moving the camera around, trying sections of the scene. It's worth stopping though. This is my last stop of the day, and this is Hoyholmen, something like that. The actual place I want is about 3 kilometres down there, and the plan was to drive down. Having looked at the condition of that track, I'm not going to bother. I'm going to abandon the Toyota here, and I might take a wander down a little bit further, probably not right to the very end, because I'm not sure what's there. It's a nature reserve. There's a place, and I think it's over that side, called Tanamunginen, something like that. And I'd seen some images and I thought, oh, that looks interesting, I'm going to have a go at some of that. And it's close-ups, abstracts. I thought, yeah, let's have a go at that for this evening. But I'm not sure I'm going to get there. As I say, I have to be sensible No one knows where I am. I don't speak the language. So I've got to try and be a little bit on the sensible side. So I'm just going to have a mosey around. I'm going to wander down there. Over the other side of this little track, there's some black strips showing through. It's the undergrowth, and they're all almost pointing towards the mountains. And we're getting a little bit of light, a little bit of colour. I'm not going to tempt fate. There's a huge bank of cloud over there, which is where the sun is, I believe. It's either over there or over there, and that's going to block anything. So I'm not expecting to get much. But I thought it was something a little bit different. I get very stuck in my ways. I just want to concentrate on minimal. I'm trying to broaden my horizons a little bit. Yes, I am going to be looking down and looking for abstracts, but I'm also going to try and look for the bigger scenes. There's beautiful snow-covered mountains in the back there, and I have a feeling that's up where I was yesterday on the road out to Kongsfjord. There's a fjord which I believe leads through to, go on, Ulstertana over there. I think it's part of the fjord. It comes all the way down there, right as far as the eye can see, and then we've got it up here as well. So yeah, we're going to just have a look and see what we can find and try and stay upright. There's the car. I've literally just walked across the road. I don't think we're going to get any sort of light tonight at all. There is a brighter bank on the horizon, but then we've got goopy dark stuff which is snuffing out any light at all. Over in that direction is a possible long lens shot. We've got the darker foreground mountains. I can't see where I'm pointing. It's over here oh, it could be there. Darker foreground mountains and some light coming through on the rear mountains. Don't know. I'm gonna have a mosey. So anyway, I've kind of shot my first composition. Yeah, there. These are the black lines that I was talking about. It's just undergrowth coming through. So I started with this one, bottom right hand corner of the image, and that curves round to these. And then diagonally from the left hand side of the image, although admittedly not right at the base of the image, we have these lines going in. And then we've just got the mountains in the background. So it's a bit of a something and nothing image, but it'll start me off. Now I'm going to go and have a mosey round. This one, what are we doing? I've got the reverse grad in because the sky nearest the mountain top is considerably lighter than the sky at the top. Putting the normal ND grad on, where you have the darker band right at the top of the filter, was just darkening the sky too much. So I popped the reverse on, and that evened everything out enough for me to get a shot without blowing any highlights. And I was at f11, a tenth of a second, and ISO 100, shooting on the 1755, about 30mm. Didn't put the polarizer on, didn't see the need. Don't think it's going to have any effect here. And there's these let me just turn you around a second. If I was at home, I'd say, and it's all gone very blue, I apologise. Yeah, it is blue. Bits of what I would call corn or maize or something. And they're a glorious yellow. Well, you not see it because it's such a blue atmosphere, but they're everywhere. There's a row of them down the side here of the road. Fascinating stuff. Well, I've made it about halfway down to my intended spot, and this is where the ice road finishes and it turns into snow. There's ice underneath. I've seen right in the very distance, and you'll not make it out from here, there's what appears to be 2 motorhomes, and there was a building as well. So it's definitely somewhere I'd like to come back to at some point, not on this trip. And I was just lining up my shot because I've now got an awful lot more of this grass on either side of the road, and I think I prefer it without so much ice visible, more snow. And it suddenly occurred to me, it's snowing. And then I looked round, and as you can see, the hills that were visible 10-15 minutes ago are now not visible, and fog's coming in up here. So I think that's time for me to call it a day, which is a crying shame. Sorry, I'm spinning you around, I know. I got here at 2:30, sunset isn't till, I think it's 5 o'clock in Norway, so I was expecting at least 2 hours of time to wander around and have a nosy and get some images, rather than just 1 or 2 images. I'll say I wanted to do some abstracty ones. That's not happening, that's not. I go home tomorrow morning, I might be tempted to come here for sunrise, because it's, when I say sunrise is around about 7:15, but all this week we've not actually seen the sun, and the clouds haven't started colouring up till 9 o'clock, 9:30. It's most strange. I've got to vacate by 11, so I don't know whether I'm just going to chuck everything in the car and come here, because this is an hour north. I want to be going south. Or whether I'm just going to say no, forget it, and come back next time. I think that's the area I wanted to be in. I've been standing listening to the waves crashing on the ice, and I wish I knew how far out I could walk on this, whether this is ground or whether it's water, because that looks fabulous over there. And even having a Google isn't really going to show me, because Google Maps doesn't show this particular, it shows this spot, but it doesn't let you go any further than where I've parked. So it's a bit difficult to get an idea of where you can and where you can't go. But I've got a couple of images that I'm happy with, nice moody mountain images. Not my usual minimal stuff, but I'm happy enough with them. Oh, somebody's coming down. Right, I'm going to love you and leave you. Enjoy the images. Have a good couple of weeks, and I'll catch you soon. Toodaloo!